welcome to Women's Cricket Chat. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Alexandra, Alex for short. And on today's podcast, we've got Western Storm Captain Sophie Luff. The sort of idea behind it is that we wanted to do sort of 60 seconds where we ask the interviewee just like fun questions so that they can sort of relax into the podcast, so to speak. So who is your current favourite artist?
Oh, good question. I like the Cortinas at the minute.
Favourite song?
Not 19 Forever.
Oh, that's a good one. Who's your best mate in the dressing room?
I'd probably say Fee Morris at the minute. It could change.
Who do you think's got the worst fashion sense in the dressing room?
Oh, I haven't seen much of what the girls wear outside of cricket, to be honest. I reckon Gibbo's out there though. Danny Gibson, I reckon she's quite flair. Might not be the worst, but I reckon, yeah, it's quite out there.
Who's got the worst music taste in the dressing room?
Nat Rose.
How bad are we talking?
It's just not what I'd go for. It's very drum and bass, which she loves, but it's just not my scene.
What was the last book you read?
This is actually a really badgery one, but I've literally just finished reading. It took me ages. Mike Brearley's The Art of Captaincy. It was the dullest book I've ever read, and I'm not really sure why I continued reading it.
Have you read Rachel Ho Flint's autobiography? It's like a book from like the 1980s.
No, I haven't.
Because I have to send it down to you because honestly, that was actually interesting. I actually read that. I struggle reading books and I actually got through that.
Yeah, okay. Do it. Anything's got to be better than Mike Brearley. So.
What was the last TV show you watched?
I've been watching The Crown at the minute. So yeah, I'm just halfway through season 3.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Do you prefer the programmes on Netflix or Amazon Prime?
Netflix.
Favourite takeaway?
Indian.
That's a strong shout.
Yeah, so as you can tell, Sophie, we are very new to doing this. And we thought like this was meant to be just kind of like a passion project for, you know what, might get a couple people like keen. And honestly, this week has been mad. People have just been like badgering us, thinking, I don't know who they think like we are, to be fair. Like we've become like mini little, I don't know, I've had messages from all over the place. It's been it's been mad. But the last time I saw you was in fact in 2019. It was in Brighton. You might have been celebrating your KSL win for, I think it was the second time. So tell me about that kind of, if you can remember that day, what was it like?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing, to be honest. I mean, winning in 2017, that was sort of like the highlight of my career. I'd never really experienced anything like that before. But then to back it up and win in 2019, it was a great game of cricket, very high scoring. I mean, we did well to win it, to be honest. We'd had a fantastic tournament and we probably were deserved winners, really. But you've always got that final to overcome and got to get over the line to get that trophy. So, yeah, it was just a great feeling, really. And, yeah, a proud moment in my career.
And it was really nice as well because I bumped into your mum at the game as well and seeing her, like, because I haven't seen you properly since probably, I don't know, 2011, 2012 kind of thing. And back in the days, like playing for Somerset and everything, where you were my captain. So tell me about kind of how proud your mum was, how proud the family were to see you from kind of the county days all the way through to winning that KSL for a second time.
Yeah, I guess that's a big reason for me continuing to play, and you know, hopefully I do make them really proud. They've been part of my journey right from the very start. I guess that's how I got into the game. Dad played and still does play cricket, and obviously I've got a younger brother in Jack, so I always had someone in the garden, you know, throwing balls at me, hitting balls at me. And yeah, like I said, they've been there every step of the way. Mum continues to come to pretty much every game she can. I don't know whether she loves cricket or whether she just loves the sun, but yeah, she's always on the side of the pitch cheering me on. And yeah, it's just great to have their support, really.
Was cricket always on the cards for you as a career path?
I think I was pretty clear that cricket was where I wanted to go, but obviously it's only really just become professional. So, you know, I was just playing out of the, you know, for the love of the game for a long time. And I think I was quite clear on where I wanted to get to. Obviously part of the England Academy at one time and felt that was the way that, you know, I was going. It wasn't quite to be. So great that we've got this professional setup now for players like myself that haven't quite made it right to the very top. But yeah, I think cricket was a massive part of my life. After university, I got into coaching and focused on that, albeit very cricket orientated. But yeah, like I said, it's a massive passion of mine.
Just thinking about your kind of role now as well as like captain of Western Storm, so like captaincy's kind of running your blood, and also like from those kind of younger Somerset days too, being in your kind of presence, we all knew growing up kind of with you, like there's always something special about you. And we all kind of wanted to be like you because we didn't have role models. So kind of how do you deal with like captaincy now? And do you feel, because you've kind of been the only kind of trailblazer there at like Somerset, quite a lot of girls, most of your kind of career anyway, do you feel quite like you've come into it quite easy, or has it been quite of a challenge to kind of take on that captaincy role?
I think this year it was challenging and a big step for me. I really felt that, it was something that I was desperate to do. The West Country, Western Storm is a big passion of mine, something that I absolutely adore. So yeah, to be asked to be captain was a real privilege. There were a few reservations around, whether it would affect my game, and, I wanted to score as many runs as possible and contribute to as many wins as possible, and whether that would affect it. But yeah, captaincy is something that I've always done from a young age. I'm not really sure why or how I fell into it. Like you said, there probably wasn't that many, girls around at the time. And I was always used to captaining boys teams when I was growing up at school, at club. And I guess it was just a natural progression for me, really, to lead from the front in terms of my performances. And I guess that's how I fell into the captaincy role more often than not, was just leading from the front with performances.
And what does like playing kind of for Somerset, West Country, as you mentioned, like what does that mean to you? Because obviously, do you have a farm as well, or have I made that up?
Yeah, my dad and my grandparents farm, so yeah, very heavily associated with Somerset, with the West Country. It's all I've ever known, really. There's been moments along my career where people have had conversations around, maybe moving counties if I wanted to progress and get further with my cricket. And to me, there's no other option. It's here in the West Country. That's where I grew up. That's where I, transitioned through the Somerset pathway. Don't get me wrong, I was really lucky. I had some great opportunities. I worked with some great coaches along the way. And yeah, I guess this is my time to sort of, pay all that hard work back, and, hopefully they're proud of me as well.
And you're talking about those kind of like inspirational coaches and stuff. Who has been the kind of main figures for you who have kind of kept you going for all this time? Because obviously it would have been easy for you to give up quite early on when there wasn't this kind of professional structure in place. Like you said, it's only been recently where you have been able to like get paid to do what you love. So who's kind of kept you going?
To be fair, there's a number of people, and there was a moment in my career, probably just before the Kia Super League, where I'd come off the England Academy, and the county system didn't support players like me. I didn't have any coaching support to fall back into, so I pretty much begged, borrowed and stole in that period. And I asked favours of people that I knew, and maybe if they were prepared to work with me. And I was lucky that I was working at Somerset Cricket Board at the time, so I had access to the facilities. If they were free for an hour, then I try and marry up coach availability, hall availability, my availability. It was a bit of a juggling act, to be honest. And sometimes it only looked like an hour every couple of weeks, but it was something, I guess. But for me, the guy that's done a lot for me is Trevor Griffin. He was obviously heavily involved with Western Storm from 2017 to 2019. Obviously picked up the trophy twice, so he's obviously doing something right. But Trev's got time for everyone, and yeah, he pretty much gave up so much of his time just to come and work with me. So we were having, weekly sessions, and he's always someone that I feel like I can talk to. I still message him now, even though he's at opposition sides. I feel like I can go back to him and chat to him, when things are going well and when things are going not so well, as we all know happens in the game of cricket. More recently, I've obviously been working closely with Mark O'Leary, who I actually met 8 years ago when I started university. And again, it was a similar story in terms of I knew that there was an MTCU scheme available at university, and I asked questions about how I could access it. Were there any girls on the programme, and could I be part of it? So asking those questions, Mark allowed myself and Carla Rudd to be part of that programme. Carla obviously playing for Southern Vipers now. But yeah, I guess it's just a case of I've asked questions and used people that I know and trust along the way, really.
So how do you sort of stay positive when things aren't sort of going away? Might be a loss of form, or like you said, it's difficult to find opportunities. How do you remain positive in that sense?
I think you've just got to remember why you play the game. So, I play the game because I absolutely love it. At times it's really frustrating and when things aren't going well, but ultimately, I love the game. So you've just got to try and take yourself back to, when you were playing in the garden and, there wasn't all that pressure and people weren't watching you. But just try and keep things simple. Go back to people you trust, people that believe in you, people that back you, people that know you at your best, because, they've seen you when you do things really well, and it's easy to forget that you do things well when things aren't going so well. So definitely make sure you've got that network network of people to go back to.
And do you bring that within kind of your coaching as well, I guess? So how do you kind of build trust within the younger girls that you're working with, within the primary schools that you might have coached in before as well? So what's your kind of coaching philosophy as well there, I guess?
Yeah, my philosophy is a lot around confidence and trying to instill confidence in players, probably through past experiences. That's where I feel like I've probably made the biggest shift in the last 18 to 24 months, is my confidence in actually believing that I'm good enough. And I don't think I did that enough when I was younger. So for me, it's just trying to get these girls to believe that they are good enough. And if they don't believe that they're good enough, you know, why don't they believe that? And for me, it's trying to create an environment where they can explore what they can do, not so much focus on the things that they can't do or they're not very good at, because we're all really good at saying, you know, what we can get better at, but actually exploring, you know, what you are capable of and opening your eyes to your strengths is really important.
What would you say then has been your sort of proudest moment as a coach?
That's a really good question, and probably something I haven't thought about. I think as a community coach, going into schools every day and inspiring lots of different children from lots of different walks of life, and I guess just having an impact on those children. And you know, that doesn't mean that they go home and they take up cricket and they join their local club. That could be that they've got slightly more confidence in school when they do go home. That might mean that they've got some leadership qualities. That might mean that they can share, they can take it in turns, they can actually work in a team. For me, those little small successes are massive, and are probably why I kept community coaching for so long, because it was so enjoyable. I was obviously lucky enough to be awarded Chance to Shine Schools Coach of the Year in 2019. And for me, that's special, because a lot of the time people don't see what you do day in, day out as a community coach. You know, you get in your car, you travel to a school, you see maybe 100 children at that school, you get back in your car, go to another one in the afternoon, do exactly the same thing, and then you go home and no one really knows what impact you've had. So to be recognised nationally was fantastic for that.
I guess quickly as well, I want to bring up COVID, obviously. What impact do you think that is going to have on the kind of next generation of players coming through, perhaps, and recreationally as well? Because at the end of the day, like, you don't have to be the best player in the world as a kid or anything like that. It is meant to be about fun and enjoyment. So how do you think schools are kind of coping in like the game of cricket and everything?
I think Chance to Shine are doing some fantastic things in terms of trying to support schools. So I think they would have had coaches in last term, which is fantastic. And obviously the situation at the moment, everything's going to be sort of online. I've had a few discussions around some live sessions with Chance to Shine recently, and there'll be some virtual stuff that they can access. So I think just trying to keep cricket in people's minds, I guess, and you know, hopefully come April, come a season, things look a lot brighter, and we can actually get out there and play some cricket. I know last year was, you know, incredibly frustrating for everyone that, you know, the season was shorter and we didn't really get that much cricket. To be honest, I didn't expect to play any, so really grateful for all the hard work that the ECB and the regions put in getting such fantastic competition off the floor, really.
And then just tell me a little bit more about that kind of Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy competition. So how did you kind of prepare? Because obviously most of the summer it was kind of like, are we going to get any cricket? No, we're not. Yes, we are. And then all of a sudden a whole kind of competition was put into place. So how did you prepare, and how did you kind of get used to your new teammates as well? Because I guess you've been around some of them, but perhaps not all of them before.
Yeah, I think it was a challenge, and I think every team was in the same position, weren't they? So look, I was lucky enough to be awarded a regional retainer contract, which meant that I was able to access 2-3 sessions a week up at Bristol from sort of early July onwards. So there were a few of us in and around the ground, and then slowly the squad got built. We played a few sort of friendly games where it was basically invitational, so we wanted to get to grips with who was in our region and what players we could potentially select. We played 2 or 3 games, and then it was pretty much, right, we've got to name a squad. Sometimes you have to take a punt on players, but generally I think we did the best that we could with the players that we've got in this region. We've obviously got some talented individuals in the region, but for me it was more about their character and what they're going to bring to the dressing room. You know, at Storm we've built a really good environment and culture over the last few years, and I certainly didn't want to lose that. It was more a case of, you know, how can we build on it? So to see the likes of Neve Holland, who I've worked closely with as both a player and a coach in the past, you know, make her professional debut age 15 is unbelievable, really. And like the way that she stepped up, it's just so exciting. Like for girls of her age, her ability, you know, the sky's the limit, really. You know, I'm so interested to follow her career, because I think it could be huge.
Other than Neve Holland, who you mentioned, who do you think are sort of the up and coming female cricketers
Yeah, so we've obviously got Neve, who's 15, and we've also got Emma Corney from Devon, who's 16, who played quite a key role in a number of our games. But I'd say there's a core group of contracted players now, the likes of Nat, Race, Alex Griffiths, Danny Gibson, 18, 19-year-olds who have been around the county scene for a while, even though they're still so young. And, they're all involved at England Academy level now, I believe. So, yeah, the opportunities that they're getting, the opportunities to develop their game at that age and be exposed to, high quality coaching and, competitive match play in the summer. I think it's just so exciting to see how those girls, flourish, really.
And I guess seeing this kind of change in the landscape as well of the opportunities now, are you a little bit jealous that you didn't get that prior, or are you kind of quite excited that you're still at the forefront and you're kind of maybe not grateful, but perhaps like you've seen both sides of the coin maybe, and you're still kind of leading the way and you can kind of shape those kind of younger players' kind of experiences and remind them like, look, it wasn't always this easy, it wasn't this kind of comfortable, and like make them work for it a little bit more maybe?
Yeah, I think there's times where you are a little bit envious because, they've obviously got, about 7-8 years on me. And, I sometimes think, oh, well, what if I had those opportunities? But to be honest, I wouldn't change it at all. I'm really comfortable with where I'm at and where my game's at. And I think, I've come into this at just the right time in terms of, understanding my game and understanding where I want to get to. And I feel like I do really appreciate the opportunity in front of me. I want to, grab it with both hands and just enjoy it as much as possible. You don't know how long your career is going to last, and I'm just desperate to make the most of it, really. I just think it's so exciting, and it's not an opportunity that I thought I would see during my career, but obviously ecstatic that it has come to fruition.
Something that really annoys me as well is the fact of like age and stuff. So like within the media and I guess on TV and stuff, people are sometimes preoccupied about the whole kind of like age of players. Like you see it with kind of Catherine Brunt all the time, like, oh, when's she going to retire, even though she's still kind of performing at the top of her level and stuff. So I know you're 27 now, kind of thing. Does that kind of like frustrate you a little bit because people are referring to you as kind of like an older player now, rather than being like you're an informed player at 27 with perhaps another 10 years still to go?
Yeah, I think it is slightly frustrating, albeit like age is just a number, isn't it? If you are still performing and you're at your best, then I think you just keep going for as long as possible. I definitely feel like, like I said earlier, I know my game so much better. And, that's not to take anything away from the 18, 19-year-olds coming into the game, because, when I was that age, I didn't know my game. Hopefully they'll know their game even quicker. So by the time, they're 22, 23, they'll be in the same position that I am now. But just grateful for the opportunity to try and get better from here on in and see where the next, 2-3 years takes me, really.
In sort of next 2 to 3 years, do you still sort of have dreams for playing and representing England, or is that something you're not really focusing on at the minute?
I think that dream is always there and has always been there. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't, but I don't think it's my sole focus at the moment. At the end of the day, I'm a professional cricketer. I'm thrilled to be able to say that I can call myself that, and I just need to keep working hard, try and put in as many performances for Western Storm and make us as successful as I possibly can. And if those things happen, then great. If not, then hopefully I'd have had a huge impact in the West Country and in a Storm shirt.
And then just thinking back as well with like the KSL and everything you've done previously, who's been kind of the best kind of overseas player that you've worked with, and who have you taken inspiration from?
We're very lucky to have Smriti Mandana at Western Storm, who's just unbelievable, to be honest. I mean, 2018 season, I actually sat in the dugout for most of it in my pads and my helmet waiting to bat, because she was just smashing it all over the park. And she's not a big girl in terms of brute power hitting. A lot of it is just bat swing and timing, and she makes it look effortless. So I'd have to say Smriti is probably the best overseas that I've been lucky enough to play with.
And then as well as that, obviously you've worked directly with England captain like Heather Knight. What's it been like working with her, and especially in terms of that captaincy and leadership role? Have you managed to take any advice on board from her? Have you had any kind of conversations, because obviously she's a West Country girl as well?
I wouldn't say we've had any sort of direct conversations around it. I just love the way that Heather goes about things. And, for me, she's only a couple of years older than me, but she's a real role model. I grew up playing against her. Somerset Devon was always such a great rivalry. I think she got 100 in most games, to be honest, that we played against her, which wasn't always good news for the results of Somerset. But look, she's just a class player. She's just the ultimate professional. The way that she goes about things, on the pitch and off it, she's exemplary. And, when we have got her in the Storm environment, I just think it's so invaluable for the younger members of the squad to see how she does go about things, how she conducts herself, her work ethic in training. She can have a massive influence just by being there. She doesn't always have to, say anything. I just think, if you're a young player, you're watching her every move and, trying to emulate her, I guess.
For those of us who aren't sort of that aware, could you explain a little bit about the Somerset Devon rivalry?
Well, we're neighbouring counties, so I guess it comes with the territory. But look, growing up, age group cricket was always sort of regional. So we would play Devon, Cornwall, Gloucester, Wales used to sneak into our group occasionally, in Hampshire. But look, Devon were a very good outfit in those days. They had obviously Heather. They also had Giselle Ansley, who plays hockey for GB now, and Jodie Cook, who was part of the England setup for a while. So they had a number of very good players, as did we. And I guess it was just that local rivalry that got the fires burning, really.
And just quickly as well, so you said obviously with Somerset there were some really good players and stuff. Who are out of the kind of the Somerset group who maybe haven't continued their kind of playing career at the moment? Who do you kind of miss the most from the game?
For me, Kate Randall was always such a good performer, and she doesn't play cricket anymore, which is a real shame. She was an off spinner, could whack it as well. She used to bowl 8-9 overs in a game for pretty much nothing, picked 3 or 4 wickets up. She was a very consistent and handy performer, as was Lauren Trubsole, who bowled leggies, obviously Anya's sister. We used to call them the spin twins. They just used to rip through sides. There was also Emily Robinson, who was an opening batter keeper. Again, I don't think she plays tall anymore, but she was always a good laugh as well as Robbo.
And I think that's definitely what Kate Randall and stuff brought to the side as well, and Lauren and everything. And it is a shame to see that they're not playing anymore. And I think especially kind of for me growing up, seeing you kind of guys as the role models for us younger girls was so huge. And it's such a shame that there's kind of cohorts of players that don't play at all anymore. And I guess that isn't just kind of a Somerset thing, it's kind of a generational thing across the country perhaps. What's your thoughts on that kind of thing? Why do you think so many players did kind of fall out of the system?
It's a good question. I guess because it wasn't professional and they didn't have that consistent support, and probably someone there to say to them keep going. And sometimes you've got to make a decision that there are other areas of your life that you need to focus on. And for those girls, cricket probably took a back seat because it had to. They continued to play club cricket for a number of years. Unfortunately, the club system in the women's game isn't great at the moment, so it doesn't really entice those players back into the game. Kate's got a family now, which is crazy to think, but I'm sure she's very happy, and I'm sure she looks back on her time at Somerset and all those successes that she had within the game. I'm sure she looks back on them really fondly.
You sort of mentioned on sort of the county setup. What do you think sort of needs to change for less of these stories to sort of happen where talented cricketers drop out of the game?
I just think there needs to be more support, really, which it is going in the right direction, and hopefully it will just filter down. We're in a position at the moment where there are a number of us professional contracted players, but that's still 5 or 6 out of a squad, and that's at regional level. How do those other squad players access the support? And then that needs to filter down into the academy systems, and then obviously into the county age group. So I think it is just a case of trying to put as much resource into those players as possible. I think you're always going to lose some along the way. Some people think cricket's where they want to get to, and then they realise that there are other walks of life, whether that's through university experience or the working world. So I do think that naturally you're always going to lose some along the way, but obviously we want to keep as many talented players in the game as possible for as long as possible.
So we've spoken quite a lot about obviously Somerset and growing up and the regional side of things and stuff, but what has been your favourite cricket memory?
Look, I guess winning the Super League twice, you can't really top those moments. They're definitely where I wanted to get to, and I wanted to feel that success. But if I sort of strip it back, the fact that I've stepped on a pitch with my dad and my brother playing club cricket sounds pretty lame, but I think it's just such a special moment to be playing the game that you love, the game that you've grown up with because of those people, and to be out there on a pitch together is always pretty special. They've probably scored more runs than me in the game, which is frustrating, but by the by, it's all good fun, isn't it?
It definitely is. And I think you're quite responsible as well for shifting those kind of opinions within kind of those village men's leagues and stuff like that. Obviously, like Limpsham's quite high up there, aren't they? I've completely forgotten what the whole kind of Somerset structure is now, but it used to be kind of like the Whipple and all that kind of stuff and the Shrubbery League, but I think it's all been changed since I've been down south. So explain to me what kind of league they are in now and your kind of role and how you have perhaps changed perceptions as well about women's capabilities within the men's kind of village league.
Yeah, you're testing me on what division they're in. They're definitely in the Somerset League. They could be in Division 3, I want to say, but obviously everything sort of changed last year because of COVID, and it went to sort of local games. So yeah, whether they'll continue that this year or whether they'll go back into their intended divisions, I guess we'll wait and see. But look, I've always enjoyed the challenge of playing boys and men's cricket. Yeah, I've always sort of had that sort of bit between my teeth, and you feel like you've got a point to prove. And yeah, I don't think it was ever sort of an aggressive thing with me. It was just, yeah, I want to go out there and show what I am capable of. More often than not, I was a bowler back in the day, growing up boys and men's cricket. Obviously more of a batter now. So yeah, at the minute I just try and fit in where I can. If I've got a free Saturday, which isn't looking likely this year, certainly with a busy schedule, hopefully. But yeah, over the last few years, I've tried to get in as many games as possible for them. Yeah, like I say, playing with my dad and my brother is always special. So I'm always keen to do that if I can.
And talk to me about that relationship as well with your brother, because I've got a younger brother and it's only recently we started to get on now. Like my brother's now 22, but the whole of my childhood, we did not get on at all. Even like playing sports and stuff, it was constant kind of like arguing and constant like just winding each other up. But I know like you and your brother's always been quite close and really supportive of one another. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I guess it certainly seems that way now that he's supportive. But look, we're just old competitive. You know, there's something on everything. But yeah, Jack's just very, very annoyingly talented. You know, we could be playing, you know, all sorts of games and, you know, he'll just pick things up really quickly, which is so frustrating. So I lose a lot of the time, but it makes him feel good. So that's great. But yeah, in recent years, he's probably been my number one fan, to be honest. He tries to get to as many games as possible, even though he wants to play his cricket at the weekends. Yeah, it's a relationship that has probably developed into that supportive role. We still have plenty of banter and there's a lot of stick flying around at the weekends about who scored the most runs. And you know,
do you think
did you see my six? I went absolutely miles. Yeah, I wasn't there, Jack, but you can tell me, you know, all about it if you want. Yeah, I think it's really important. But yeah, you know, those people obviously are there when it's going well, but they're the people that you probably really need when it's not going so well. And I alluded to it earlier as well, but those people know you when you're at your best as well, and sometimes you can lose sight of that and lose sight of where you want to get to. So yeah, to have those people there to remind you of what you do really well and, you know, why you started playing the game, all of those sort of things, I think is important.
One of the questions as well I've been asking in like my PhD research at the moment with like women's cricketers and stuff is, when was the first time that you actually saw women play cricket?
I've got to rack my brain now. My first memory of meeting female players was when Taunton was announced as the women's home of cricket. I'm not exactly sure what year that would have been. I want to say somewhere around 2005, 2006 maybe. And I remember I went down because I was part of Somerset under 13s, and we went and we did like a photo in front of what's now the long room. I've got a photo in the house actually, really embarrassing, but it's of me with Isha Guha and Holly Colvin from that day. And yeah, I guess that was probably my first memory of sort of meeting those players. I couldn't even tell you whether I watched them play a game there or when that would have been. I mean, I grew up going to Taunton, watching the likes of Marcus Trescothick, Justin Langer, all of those sort of players performing for Somerset, which, you know, obviously fantastic players. But yeah, I can't really remember any female games that I ever went to watch when I was growing up.
And I think Alex perhaps is a super Somerset fan, so she might have several questions for you on that matter.
Yeah, it's a weird one considering I live in Surrey, but I'm a Somerset fan. Who's been your favourite cricketer, men or women, that you've ever seen play the game?
Well, growing up, it was Trescothick for me. Obviously, you know, opening the batting week in, week out for Somerset, an absolute legend of the game. You know, in 2005, I guess that was when sort of cricket sort of really took off in this country with the Ashes and the success of that. And he was obviously part of that squad. And I was just sort of, you know, really, really getting into the game at that point as well. So he was someone that I was sort of, you know, really enjoyed watching bat. These days, I absolutely love watching Butler bat. actually went to the same school as Joss growing up, even though he's a few years older than me. And yeah, recently I've really enjoyed watching Kane Williamson and the way that he goes about things. For me, there's a lot about Kane that probably goes underrated. He's an absolute run machine, but it's more his game management and reading of certain situations that I really like. So yeah, again, they're all male players that I'm talking about there. But, for young girls these days, when you are talking about cricket, hopefully they're saying, Tammy Beaumont, Heather Knight, Anya Shrubsole. And I think they will be, because it's visible these days.
I definitely agree with you, and I've definitely seen some Kane Williamson posts across social media from you too. I want to kind of get inside like your head as well, in terms of like when you go out to bat, what are you thinking about? Like, I want to know like the ins and outs of like how does your brain work when it comes to like high pressure situations, and getting some of that strategic insight into what makes you so brilliant as a batter.
I'd love to know what goes on inside my head most of the time when I'm batting as well. I think that's when you're at your best almost, is, there's been some innings where you almost can't remember what happened because you're just so in the moment, and yeah, there isn't that much thought because you're just playing on instinct. And yeah, I wish every game was like that, to be honest, but it's not. I think, yeah, while I'm waiting to bat, I'm obviously at, sort of 3 or have been this season for Western Storm. So yeah, it's always a little bit nerve wracking waiting in the wings. I guess you're just trying to read the situation. For me, it'd be, looking at what the bowlers are trying to do, and, what fields they've got set, and, where I might get off strike and get going. I think that's my main thought really, is, get off the mark, get up the other end and get going really. And then, yeah, for me, it's just about taking stock of, what the game requires of me. I've obviously got a set way of playing, but there'll be times where, I need to bat in a certain way and play a certain role for the team. I think that's probably why I had so much success last year for Storm in the Rachel Hayhoe Flint, is I was so comfortable being at 3 and what my role was in the side, that I was just able to go out and back myself and execute that really.
Just picking up on what you said earlier about the likes of young girls talking about the likes of Tammy Beaumont, Heather Knight, etc. Do you think with competitions such as the 100, how big of an impact do you think it will be for the women's game?
Yeah, I think it's, any competition where there's visibility is only going to have a positive effect on the game. And, girls growing up will hopefully get behind, whatever team it is. They might be from Somerset, but they might be supporting Trent Rockets because Nat Siver is their favourite player. And to be honest, that doesn't really matter, because, they're following the game, they're taking an interest, and, they've got those role models to look up to and emulate. Hopefully we'll be able to have, those high quality overseas stars that have been talked about as well, to get that caliber of player over here, and for young girls to, fingers crossed, be able to get into stadiums and watch those players. I'm hugely excited about the prospect of playing with some of them. So for young girls to go and watch those players is a great opportunity.
So you just said you're excited. Who are you most excited about potentially playing with? I know there's potentially a bit of movement going on at the moment, but who's the one that you're definitely looking forward to kind of like batting with or being next to?
Yeah, so I guess if she re-signs, it would be Meg Lanning. I think she's a world-class performer. Yeah, I mean, when the 100 was introduced and Meg was announced, and I was due to be at Welsh Fire as well. The prospect of being able to potentially bat with her, quite daunting, but hugely exciting. Someone that you can probably learn a huge amount off, and yeah, it's just exciting that players like myself are exposed to being in around a group with that caliber of player. So for the 18, 19-year-olds that are involved in the competition as well, it's just a huge opportunity for them to learn and develop really. And I'd like to think that they'll take it all in and not be too fazed by it, and hopefully realise that it is a really good opportunity to learn from some of the world's best.
And I guess as well, we have got a couple like non-cricket related questions as well. But before we get on to that, what advice do you have for kind of like young girls today to kind of follow into your footsteps and get to that kind of top level of the game?
I think they've got to, keep enjoying it for as long as possible. And, that's why you started playing the game, or they probably started playing the game because, they find it fun. They like playing with their friends. And I think it's important to remember that. But yeah, I'd encourage them to explore what they can do and, find out what they are capable of. I talk to a lot of young players and they say, I can't sweep, I can't hit over the top. And, when I delve deeper into it, it's, well, can you not do it, or have you tried, or have you not tried to do it? And a lot of the time it's because they haven't potentially tried it, and they're probably scared of getting it wrong. So yeah, just encouraging them to have a go at things, and it's not always going to look pretty, and you're going to get things wrong, and you're going to make plenty of mistakes, and it's just trying to get them to relax in an environment where they feel safe, that they can make those mistakes, and that's the way that they're going to get better and develop, really.
And then getting to know who is Sophie Luff outside of cricket as well, because obviously you are a person, you have other interests than just playing the game too. So I think Alex might have some baking questions for you, because she's been in awe of your new Instagram page and everything. So I'll hand you over to Alex.
Yeah, like you've made so many amazing sort of cakes and stuff. What's been your favourite sort of thing to bake?
Well, my favourite, and it's probably one of the easiest as well, is Rocky Road. I always put Rolos and Crunchy in mine, just for a little added extra. But yeah, that would be my go-to, my banker, really.
What made you decide to set up like a baking Instagram page?
Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. I was obviously doing a fair amount of baking in the first lockdown. I was doing sort of a weekly call with someone I used to work with. We were sort of baking together. Each week we'd do a different recipe. And then I just thought, actually, I'm clogging up my own Twitter, my own Instagram, with bakes, and maybe I should have a separate page where I just post cakes and biscuits and whatever I make, really. So that's how it came about. More so, just not to clutter my own Instagram, really.
Who are some of your favourite bakers to follow, and what are your favourite recipes of theirs to make?
So I've always loved Mary Berry from the Bake Off, really. Yeah, I think she's a legend of baking, and I'd probably follow her recipe more often than not. But actually, I just follow loads of different baking pages on Instagram. So there's one which is Jane Patisserie. Literally, check it out. It's unbelievable. Like, some of the stuff she makes, I just think, wow, that looks like it will taste great. It looks amazing. So usually I just follow her recipes, to be honest. And so far so good.
Do you sort of find that baking is a good stress reliever, or is it something you just did to fill the time in lockdown? Because obviously it feels like we've been locked up in lockdown for about 100 years. So do you find it as a good, like, nice break?
Yeah, I find it quite therapeutic, I guess. I just enjoy like making things for other people. Like, for me, it's not necessarily like me wanting to eat the end result. It's seeing how other people react to it and them enjoying it. So I know the Storm girls are absolutely loving me. When I come into training, I'll usually have something with me to offer, and if I don't, then they usually kick off at me. So look, I guess it's just something to sort of occupy some time, especially these days. We've all got a little bit more time on our hands, haven't we? I say it's therapeutic. Sometimes it's a little bit stressful. Like in cricket, I'm a perfectionist. So, when things aren't looking exactly how I want them to, or exactly how the recipe looks, it's a little bit panic stations. But usually it turns out all right in the end.
I completely get that. Like, my sister actually has put me on like a baking ban because I baked so much during the first lockdown. And she's like, "You're just trying to make me fat." And I was trying to win like a KitchenAid sand mixer. And I said, imagine like if I made all these cakes, and she joked saying, you'd have to build me a slide to get around the house, because your cakes are just so good, but I just can't eat them anymore because I'm just going to get fat.
I just want to quickly ask as well, what does your nutritionist think of it? Like, with the baking, is there any kind of comments that have been made, or have they been won over by your bake?
Yeah, it's a good question, to be honest. So we don't have a set nutritionist, which is probably pretty lucky at the moment, given how much I'm baking. We haven't really had a discussion around it so much. The way that I see it is that a little bit of something naughty isn't going to hurt you, as long as you're doing the right things, consistently, day in, day out, and you're taking care of your nutrition that way. The girls have loved it so far. So hopefully there aren't too many comments from the S&C. Hopefully the girls are working just as hard as in the gym as they always are, and our fitness test results are pretty good, which means that I can carry on baking.
I was going to say, you must have won over like the dressing room purely by cakes, I guess. I guess you haven't got much to fight with when you are offering the goods.
I guess I've had a lot of comments around like, oh, that's why you're in the team. And I think I jokingly put a tweet out when I won Players Player this season. Just saying like, like good to know that all the bakes paid off, girls. But yeah, like I said, I just really enjoy, you know, baking for other people, and yeah, it's a little bit of a distraction away from the game as well.
And as well as baking, what else could we see like Sophie Luff getting up to in your spare time?
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty chilled, pretty relaxed. A lot of what I'm about is being active, and yeah, that's why I really enjoy coaching as well. I certainly couldn't sit behind a desk 9 till 5 every day. You know, I like to be up and about doing things, getting outside. Yeah, baking obviously is one hobby of mine away from the game. I got into cycling during the first lockdown as well, which I've remarkably kept up even during this disgusting weather. Yeah, I don't know if I'm, you know, stupid or just think I'm, you know, Bradley Wiggins these days. But yeah, that's been really good to get stuck into something that I probably didn't think I would enjoy that much. Obviously very lucky to live where I do and enjoy lots of country lanes around Somerset. There's loads of, you know, pretty villages that you can go to. Try and avoid all the hills if I can. So yeah, haven't been brave enough to venture to Cheddar Gorge yet.
Or about up Brent Knoll?
Yeah, I usually skirt around Brent Knoll. That's really close to me. So yeah, I usually sort of do a bit of a loop around there. But yeah, I probably wouldn't venture up there.
Also as well, like, so again, thinking about Sophie Luff outside of cricket, what would be like one thing that people don't know about you?
Ooh. I don't know actually. That's a tough question.
I mean, it's quite deep.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could think of anything that people might not know about me necessarily.
Well, like your go-to the fun fact that like fans of the game might not know about, any kind of achievements that people might be like, oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah, you've got me stumped now. Yeah, I don't think I've got anything for you, to be honest. Just trying to rack my brain. No, I don't think I've won any obscure competitions or anything like that.
Any kind of Blue Peter badges or anything?
No, I'm so not creative at all. Like if it was like art or music, I'm out. Like I am offering 0. I've got no talent in either of those areas. Yeah, I actually like really admire people that are good at that sort of thing, because I'm just haven't got a clue.
And I guess before we kind of like finish the conversation as well, just a little bit more about your degree as well, because obviously you went to Cardiff Met playing cricket, but also like that degree. So tell us a little bit about that as well, just before we kind of conclude.
Yeah, so I graduated with a first class honours degree in sport and physical education, which I guess sort of set me up to go on and do a PGCE and become a teacher. Yeah, I don't really know what it was. I just wasn't that interested in doing teaching. So yeah, like I said, I sort of left university and I'd been doing little bits of coaching during my time there, and yeah, I guess I just fell into the coaching world, and that was me for 4 or 5 years, which I absolutely loved. I did think about doing a master's, but you know, that might be something to consider moving forward. Certainly now I'm a professional cricketer, and you know, we get access to the PCA and all of their support. You know, thinking about what I perhaps want to go into post cricket is something that I'm thinking about now, even though I've sort of only just started my journey as a pro. You know, I've obviously got coaching qualifications to fall back on and experiences in the coaching world. I'm really interested in strength and conditioning, so whether that's something that I look at moving forward, obviously could tie in quite nicely in the cricket world as well.
Alex, do you have any other questions before we conclude, or?
No, I don't. I think we sort of covered everything. Sophie, where can our listeners find you on social media if they want to check out all your stuff?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't even know my own sort of tags. I'm Luff Sophie on Twitter. And then my Instagram, my baking page is actually Bake with Lush, which is a little bit of a random name. And then I'm Sophie Luff 06 on Instagram.
Perfect. So then the final question is, I guess, what does 2021 look for you and your hopes for the future?
I'd love to say that Western Storm will win some silverware. We've obviously been successful in the past, and we've got a bit of a habit of winning trophies. So obviously last season didn't really go to plan in terms of that, but this year hopefully we'll get a full season, both T20 and 50 overs, and hopefully we can be as successful as possible. Hopefully the 100 goes ahead, and I can make an impact in that form of the game. The formats are getting shorter and shorter, and if you'd asked me a few years ago, I don't think that would have necessarily suited my game, but yeah, I guess we're used to being adaptable and flexible, aren't we, these days? So yeah, I've made a few changes to my game, and hopefully they can sort of transition into the summer. You know, in the past, you work on stuff in the winter and you might not necessarily see it come to fruition in the summer. So yeah, hopefully I've had plenty of time on task this winter, and those things can come to the fore in 2021, and yeah, hopefully it's a successful season for the squad.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sparing an hour of your day during this kind of miserable, cold January. Hopefully the weather's much nicer in the summer and you get plenty of games. COVID's kind of non-existent and we can get back to kind of just enjoying being outdoors and without restrictions and everything.
And challenging for silverware.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, getting some silverware, inspiring like more young boys and girls to pick up a bat and a ball and everything, and representing the Southwest.
Yep, that's the plan.